The Yagami Detective Agency is back on the case in a brand new game from Ryu Ga Gotoku that takes everything you loved about the first Judgment game and completely upgrades it using tools and inspiration from Yakuza Like a Dragon. And honestly, it's just as good. I'm Matt Move the Joystick, and this is my review of Lost Judgment. Now, as always, all of the footage that you're seeing in this review is from early on in the game, just the first few chapters, and there are no spoilers, or at least I tried to make sure that there were no spoilers, because this isn't a game that you want to go in knowing all the answers. I mean, it is a mystery thriller after all. Also, I played my version of the game on the PlayStation 5, and that is what you are seeing in this footage. Now stay with me because the story of Lost Judgment can be a bit confusing to explain because there are so many twists and turns and different little mind-bending nuggets that you're on the edge of your seat and you don't really know what's going on at given times. So let's just start from the beginning. Now, the whole story of Lost Judgment starts off when a body is found in Yokohama. But meanwhile, around that same time, there is an ex-police officer who is being charged for the crime of groping. Now, when he receives that guilty verdict, he reveals who that body belongs to, and it sparks this whole question of who did this, how could this person be involved, especially when they were all just miles apart. To answer all of those questions is Yagami and Kaito, and the brand new detective agency started up by Sugiura and Tsukumo, which, if I'm saying those names incorrectly, I apologize. But they've started up their own detective agency, coincidentally, at Yokohama. This new detective agency invites Yagami and Kaito out to help them with a case of their own. They're investigating a bullying case at the local high school. What they soon find out, though, is that this bullying case is way more than what it seems, as it's directly connected to the body that was found in a nearby building in Yokohama. And this is when the investigation in Lost Judgment really begins, as Yagami starts interviewing and interrogating a lot of the students in the school and a lot of new cast of characters that appear throughout Yokohama. Now, I could get into a lot more about the events that happen and the situations that Yagami encounters, but unfortunately, that would spoil more of the game than I would really like to. But I will say that the story itself is absolutely fantastic. It's one of the best mystery thrillers that I think that I've experienced in a game in a long time. I loved the first Judgment game. I thought it was criminally underrated. But this one, I feel like this story, just takes it to the next level. I mean, granted, it is the same kind of whodunit mystery, but yet it feels like you really just have no clear grasp on what is going on, who is really connected, and really who the murderer is and who all of their accomplices are until the very end. And it is just a mind-blowing and fascinating, wonderful experience that I definitely think that Judgment fans, Yakuza fans, and any fans of a mystery thriller type game would love to play. One of the things I love about Lost Judgment is that it really capitalized and improved on everything about the first game. So the first game did make you feel like a detective, but this one put you in different situations that made you feel more of an investigator. You know, you were trying to figure out different pathways, different angles, different situations, and different ways in which you could figure out what really was going on. And of course, there is all of the usual drama that you would find in a Yakuza Judgment type game that's just going to keep you guessing. And honestly, there are things that you are never going to see coming, like, blue masked men that just pop up out of nowhere. It has a story that does justice to the legacy that it came from. It's an awesome story. Definitely one of the games that you need to check out. But this game is more than just its story. There are more additions to this game than I saw coming. Now, you are in a high school, you're investigating a high school, so therefore, you're likely going to get wrapped up into a lot of the hijinks of the local high school. And this is in the form of what the game calls school stories, where you help out different clubs within the high school that you're investigating as part of the Mystery Research Club. But what you really find is that there's an even more mysterious and even more conniving situation that's going on than meets the eye, as there is this weird and mysterious villain called the Professor that you don't really find out the identity of the Professor unless you go out and you participate in the school stories, which means you have to perform various dance maneuvers and different mini games and side games. There's even a robot club. It's a lot of fun, honestly. I really think that this is one of the highlights of Lost Judgment, and what makes it even more cool is that it has this like Sherlock Holmes feel to it, as the Professor feels like a Moriarty type, where all of these students are put into these very precarious situations behind a person who is pulling the strings, and you really just don't know who it is unless you participate in the school story. So it kept me really intrigued and really fascinated with what was going on, and made me want to participate even more. Okay, so now let's talk about the combat of Lost Judgment. It is vastly improved from the first game. In the first game, I felt like Tiger Style was like the best style to use throughout the entire game. Crane was okay, but I never felt like it had the appropriate amount of upgrading that it needed to be an effective style. But in this game, it really is, especially good for like group fights. But one of the really cool additions is Snake Style, which is more of a countering type of fighting style, and it's awesome. Honestly, it's so smooth, the different holds and the different actions that you make. Honestly, it was actually my favorite style to use. That said, Tiger Style is still in the game, and it is still just as powerful, just as brutal, and just as fun to use. But for me, I mean, dude, the Snake Style is just so cool, especially because they added this thing called EX Surrender that makes it to where you don't actually knock out your opponent. Instead, you just kind of scare them into submission. It's awesome. But even more than that, they've also added SP meters, so you're able to get SP a lot faster by, you know, just fighting, just performing different actions in a fight. And if that wasn't cool enough, they also added a feature where when an item drops, you don't have to go seek it out. It will automatically just teleport to you. And I really appreciated that little fun aspect. What's also cool about Lost Judgment is that the game has added a lot more movement and a lot more verticality because of it. You've got parkour now. You can climb up to sides of buildings to investigate. You've also got a skateboard where you can perform these really cool and fun tricks. You can even, grind for a little bit as well. You can even upgrade your skateboard at one point to be like this super like rocket ship kind of thing. It's really fun. But they've also added stealth modes where you are trying to get around different enemies and as quiet as possible, and you can even knock them out, which is a really fun addition to the game. But it wouldn't be a Judgment, a Lost Judgment, or even a Yakuza game if there weren't side quests. And of course, this game is brilliant with their side quests. I mean, you've got, dog detective side quests. You've got a side quest where you can run after a model of some sort of body type model. There's just so many weird and quirky and fun side quests that you just have to experience to believe. It's an absolutely wonderful part of the Judgment game, and it also extends the game as well. I mean, there are some times where I felt like maybe I wanted to get to the point a bit faster. I wanted to get to the overall end game faster, but then I would find myself getting caught up in all of these fun and interesting side quests that maybe I wouldn't be able to get to the end as fast as I would like to, because I mean, the story is so fascinating and intriguing. You want to know what's going on, but then you get caught up in the amazing and incredible world of Yokohama and Ijin Cho, and I mean, heck, there's also cats. You can pet cats. Who doesn't want to pet cats? Overall, Lost Judgment is simply awesome. I mean, it takes everything from the first Judgment game, all the features, all the story, and everything that you experience there, and it completely upgrades it. And it uses a lot of the features and inspirations from the first time we were in Yokohama, which was in Yakuza Like a Dragon. And they're a welcome addition. I thought that they were awesome. I thought Judgment was criminally underrated. I said that before. But I don't want Lost Judgment to also be as underrated, because really it's got everything that you would want a great game to have. It's got an amazing story that's going to keep you on the edge of your seat. It's got fantastic characters that you're just going to end up loving throughout. It's got awesome side cases. It's got fantastic freestyle combat. And for the most part, it's got a pretty open map, a pretty open environment that you can just have fun with and do, you know, it feels a bit limitless, like you are living in that city. So you definitely need to check out Lost Judgment if you're a fan of mystery thrillers, or even if you're a Yakuza fan, or if this is just your first time experiencing it. You don't necessarily need to play the first Judgment game. I encourage you to do so. But Lost Judgment is a game that I encourage everyone to play. And that's it. So, I'm Matt, Move the Joystick. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment on your thoughts of Lost Judgment, or even the Yakuza series as a whole. Once again, thank you so much for watching.